Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? Welcome. We are currently live on Twitch with our guest Little Clef right now. If you're listening to this via audio on Spotify, Apple Music, or not Apple Music, Apple Podcast, shout out to you. Thank you so much for being a consistent listener and supporter of me, myself, and I, and all the guests that we bring on. Like I said before, today we have Little Clef. This is actually the second time that we're talking, and this time we're doing it live, which I'm extremely excited about because it's been quite some time since the last live interview. I can't even remember who it was off the top of my head, honestly. So we're really breaking the seal right now. So, Clef, how you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be back and honored to be your first live guest in a while.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
excited to get into it.
it's been months. It's
Word.
been like a couple months since I actually sat down and was like, all right, let's do this, let's get it done. There's updates that I want to make to like the overall stream and stuff like that. Like certain things on the screen aren't accurate, but I'm like, you know what, the show still must um go
Word.
on. So I'm excited to talk to you again though because I feel like we're gonna be able to have a less formal conversation than we
Yeah.
did the first time, just because I was trying to get to know you more as an artist, understand what it is that you're trying to bring to the table for yourself and things like that. So now we just get to talk about whatever, but just to give people a backstory on what happened. We had that whole conversation, right? And then I didn't record the freaking audio. But to my defense, I wasn't on my regular setup, right? So anybody out there who was like, damn, I wish I could have heard that first conversation, I'm sorry, all right? It's my fault. But since now and then, what have you been up to, creatively?
Yeah, still recording new material. It's really exciting. And I've been practicing for this show that I have on Sunday
Hmm.
in the city at Arlene's Grocery. It's going to be with some really cool bands. I'm excited to play that bill. So, yeah, mostly just like trying to keep up with school and recording some new projects and yeah, just like practicing
You
playing
ever
music.
you ever find yourself in like a classic like movie situation where you're trying to make some music but then school gets in the way somehow? Or is everything that you're experiencing now nothing like what you've ever pictured it before?
That's a good question. I feel like sometimes I try to do my schoolwork and then music gets in the way. Like it ends up being the other way around.
Mm,
But yeah, it's definitely like a time crunch for sure. And I think um, when you see, I guess like biopics or, you see movies about artists coming up, it's just like, it seems like they have kind of all the time in the world. And it's definitely more of a time crunch than it seems like, but it's good, like I'm almost graduated school and yeah, I'm just like grinding to the best of my ability.
and last time we talked, I asked you about that kind of music work balance of being a
Mhm.
because the classification of what you're studying is more engineering, right, than music.
Yeah, producing music, I guess.
So I asked you like what is more of the music creative aspect rather than like stuff, you're sitting writing and reading in books and stuff like
Word.
that. Um, do you find that I basically asked you this question last time too. Do you find that interest in like, okay, I gotta take this paper, I gotta read this book as like a daunting task? Like, does it ever stress you out to where music becomes a thing that's a release in that moment? Or when you're able to
Definitely.
get there?
Definitely. I find myself like using music like to procrastinate a lot. Like and it's productive procrastination, but at the same time it's like, I'll have like an essay to write
Yeah.
and I'll pick up the guitar and then I'm like all I want to do is like write a song.
Yeah.
Um, but also if I'm stressed with school, like it's a lot harder to get into that creative state sometimes. Like it helps to just not have to worry about deadlines and stuff. But sometimes, the music is the deadlines, and like and that's just like me trying to keep myself on a schedule and stuff. Um, but yeah,
Um,
managing stress and like maintaining creative energy and focus is like definitely finding that balance, like you were saying. It's like it's It's a challenge.
Yeah, you said something that I don't think I've ever heard anybody say before. Music is the deadline. That's such an interesting way to like look at, what it is that you're doing. It's like I have to create this piece of something
Yeah.
in order to get a grade, whatever you want to call it, right? But it also made me think like it's such a such a unique situation for musicians like yourself and maybe others surrounding you to have that opportunity where their procrastination is actually productive, because you might end up writing that, guitar line that you use maybe for the other assignment in your next class that you get next week, whereas, you're talking about with the paper. And you also said something that I wanted to talk to you about specifically was creative energy. That's something
Mhm.
that's been coming up a lot in my personal life with people who are trying to take that act. They're in the chat right now, actually. Serenity, she's a life coach, a health coach, a wellness coach, and one of the things that she teaches is how to cultivate and strengthen your creativity. And every time we talk about it, I always find myself stepping back from like I don't let me rephrase that. I don't want to say stepping back, but kind of being shocked that there's people in the world who creative or feel like they have to unlock it in some way. What are your thoughts on that aspect of creativity? Of having to unlock
Mhm.
it or, charge it.
Word. Yeah, I feel like I've been at different times in my life, both like super creative and super productive in that way, and I don't really have to sit down and like think of it like a practice. But other times, like especially if there's more stuff going on in my personal life or with school, like I really have to consciously take time every day to like sit down and be like, I'm gonna write a song, just like, play my guitar. So it's interesting. I feel like people usually aren't like one way or the other, maybe, and
Hmm.
like it depends a lot on like your circumstances and stuff. But I do think that the more you practice in the times when you're not feeling super inspired, like the easier it is to kind of make the inspiration like a button, that you actually
Yeah.
have control of like now I'm gonna like turn on and like produce or write or whatever. Yeah, because it is like magical a little bit, but also it's like practice.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard to find that space. Like you described it as a button, and like if you push that button, you put yourself in that space or that mood or that mode that you could bust out a beat in like, 15 minutes if you really wanted to. Or you could write a song that's, you got the hook chorus and the bridge
yeah.
all done. And I was actually thinking about that a lot today because the way, things are going for me on a day-to-day basis, I have a lot of free time, right? I have a lot of time to play video games, go for hikes, write, make beats, whatever it is that I want to do. And sometimes I find myself getting bored, right? It's really no secret, you stay home or whatever the case may be, you're gonna get bored. And I want to capture what it is I'm feeling at that time. I want to
Mhm.
capture those thoughts and I want to be able to write it down in a creative way. But for some reason, I just feel like it's not like I can't take what I'm actually feeling and put it on to the paper. And I don't
Yeah.
know if that's a place of like, okay, I just need to practice it more, or if it's like I'm blocked in that regard, or even if it's like I don't even fully understand what it is that I'm actually feeling outside of that boredom to put it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think having too much time sometimes is really really puts me in a writer's block place
Hmm.
sometimes. I think maybe especially like over the pandemic, like, you saw so many people being like super creative or posting on social media just like all of the many things that they were
Hmm.
uh accomplishing in that time and I felt like it was really only like when I started getting busy again, kind of when the pandemic was letting up and I started um like working again and stuff that like I really started wanting to create more. Like I had so much free time, I was just like, I
Yeah,
have all the time in the world to write a song. But then
yeah. What what music have you listened to today? If you listen to any,
oh, have I been listening to music today? This is the question that I always have to like check Spotify for.
nah,
Like,
that's fair.
what
That's fair.
what have I been listening to? Yeah, today I've been listening to The Strokes. I saw them last night at
Okay.
Barclays in Brooklyn, um, which was a pretty awesome set. And then I was also listening to what's his name? Um, this guy Paul Westerberg from he's from this band The Replacements, and I started listening to his solo music like a little bit last year, and then got like heavy into it like a couple weeks ago, and I've just been like listening to Paul. Um,
Anything that he's doing that you're kind of taking from, or is it just purely enjoyment?
I just like love his lyrics, and I feel like the songs are like pretty simple and like um, that's kind of really what I like about them.
Hmm.
It's like not too fancy or complicated of music.
Is what kind of what genre is he?
It's like rock. The Replacements was like it's like a big inspiration for like a lot of like I guess like pop punk or like alternative rock bands, and then
Hmm.
his solo stuff is more like singer songwriter, but still like pretty electric music.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
awesome, like from the '90s and the 2000s mostly.
Okay. What were you doing
Yeah,
when you were listening to that stuff? Was that just like your chill, or like that's your like I'm into this music right now?
I was baking and I was delivering bread. I was running out in this. It's like very gray and rainy here at Purchase, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was making some deliveries.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that was pretty much it.
There's no like issues. I guess it wouldn't be an issue because you're in like college, but there's no issues with you selling food like that on campus.
Not yet. I mean, like we don't have to pay for the utilities in the dorms, which is really nice because I
Yeah,
can like
go
run the
crazy.
oven at like 500 degrees and like
Mm.
I don't have to worry about my gas bill. Um, but yeah, there haven't been issues so far. I don't know if like the school really knows.
Okay.
I've sold bread to a couple professors at this point,
Oh
but
shoot.
yeah, that's been really fun.
All
But
right, so if this bread stuff really takes off, what's gonna happen with music? Like, it seems like the bread is on the up and up.
yeah, there's I've found time for both. But like I was working in a restaurant from like July of 2020 through like summer of last year for like a year, and I was like cooking. And during that time, I had like no time, and I didn't write as much music because of that. But going forward, like if I do want to continue to work in food, my work life balance is going to be like the priority there, and I'm definitely gonna make sure that music doesn't take the back seat, to that work.
Um, is that something that you ever seriously considered, like taking this all the way?
Yeah, definitely would like to own a bakery someday. That would be really awesome. Just cooking in general, like I really liked being a line cook, and it
Mm.
was definitely too many hours and like very stressful at times, but I think under a little bit different circumstances, like I could see myself doing it for, at least a couple of years in my 20s for sure.
Did
Um,
you do you make other things outside of bread? Like, do you cook for yourself? Is that what do
yeah,
you?
like I have no more meal plans, so
Okay.
so I'm cooking for myself these days. Yeah, it's fun. I like it a lot. It's sometimes, it's a little bit of a time crunch, but it's
Mm.
mostly just like
Yeah.
mostly a nice kind of habit and
It must
I like
be
listening to music. Yeah.
a little more like stressful having to be in school and cook for yourself. But you know, there was only a small portion of time when I was in school where I had to cook for myself. But now I have to do it every night. Like last night though, I made some fried chicken and I
Mm.
made a General Tso sauce. And I made some rice and some vegetables.
That's
and
fire.
it was knocking. I was actually thinking
Yeah.
about making it again tonight, on stream or something like that. Do a cooking stream. I think that would be a lot of fun, but I haven't fully committed to the idea yet. I don't know why.
Word, I would watch that. I
I,
would one of my
right? People
loves.
cook on Twitch all the time, and like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's cool.
I would be sitting there teaching people like, listen, if you want your shit good, this is what you're gonna have to do, okay? You're gonna need the seasonings, you're gonna have to cook it like this. I'm gonna take you step by step. um,
Steph
something
McFarline.
exactly. It's something that you said about lyrics. You said that when you were working as a line cook, you didn't write as much. And when you are writing more, are there ever a set of lyrics or lines that you're like, this is my absolute favorite? Like, nothing, this communicates everything that I was trying to in this moment, and like, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, not every line makes me feel like that, but sometimes when it's right, it's just like right. And I usually I don't know. It's funny. I'm trying to think of like which kinds of lines those are. It's kind of hard to like pinpoint. I think usually, honestly, they're the ones that take me like a second, where like I'll spend like 5 minutes just being like writing something down and then like rewriting it and just like changing words around and kind of switching it up. Because it doesn't always take like sometimes the words just come, but like I feel like when I take a second on like a particular line and it like really gets across kind of exactly what I was trying to get across, that's the best feeling. And then also like it's funny to realize which lines people remember in songs. Like there'll be particular lines in like my songs that someone will be like, word, like that line. And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes they're not the lines that I would assume that people would kind of like um
It's not
remember.
what
But it's like,
you considered the punch at the time.
yeah, sometimes it's just sometimes it does line up like that, but it's funny to hear from other people kind of when I do like which lines stick out to them
Hmm.
and what they think they mean. Also, I love hearing about other people's interpretations.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
super fun for me.
Is there, how many lines would you say that accomplish that for you? Do you think is it more than like five? Is it less? Is it 10?
In the whole catalog, I mean the catalog, I say it's like not very large at this point, but yeah, it's I mean in every song like there's probably lyrics that I'm really happy with. It depends, it's like some songs I'm like I listen back to and I think, oh, I could have done like a little bit better there, a little bit better there, and other times,
Mm,
I'm I'm happy with it. But I'm always really critical before I like release things and like in the kind of like editing process, like you have to listen over and over and stuff
yeah.
when you're mixing. And so I can get pretty like critical about it in that stage. And then once it's released and once it's out in the world, um, usually, I'm like confident in kind of what we did in the mixing and producing process. And so I'm happy with it. But sometimes it takes a long time to get to that point where I'm
Yeah.
happy with it.
Well, are you the kind of artist where it's like once it's to the world, you just completely release any attachment, or are you still like very much attached to, the art and want people to take certain things from it? Because I know people operate on different sides of that spectrum, and also within the middle, I would think.
Yeah, I think I still feel like close to some of the songs because I kind of remember where I was, what I was doing, and like what a specific song is about. Like I have associations with them, but in
Mm,
terms of the use of a song in the world or like stuff like that, like as long as the right people are getting compensated for use and like it's like my song's not playing at like a Trump rally, like do
yeah,
whatever
right.
you want. I'm like super happy to be sampled. I'm super happy to like be remixed, to be covered, like um and yeah, it's crazy to think that once you put it out in the world, it's like really literally anybody on the globe with any streaming service could like listen. And I don't really think about that, but you really do give it away, no
Mm,
matter your personal association with it, like it's out in the world.
yeah.
So
And
gotta
do
let go.
is that something you think about often, or is that something that's like that's kind of coming up in this conversation for the first time?
It's come up a little bit in terms of like Spotify for artists. You can see where people listen to your music. So
Hmm.
you get like a breakdown of like globally, which is funny. I mean, it's like mostly for my music, mostly, like New York and
Right.
like LA sometimes and stuff and places in the US. But, you get like a random listener from like Malaysia or Norway or like, and that's funny. But yeah, in terms of the question of kind of like ownership or like relationship to music once it's released, I'm definitely thinking more about it from this conversation.
Um, would you say there's a sort of process that gets you to be able to accept the fact that it's like, okay, hey, I gave this to the world, or is it all done within that kind of that time that you spend tweaking and perfecting as much as you can?
I think I would feel a lot weirder about the whole thing if like I had a larger audience. It's like
Hmm.
I don't really feel the weight of like, oh, now the world, like now it's, the world gets to hear it because theoretically anyone in the world could hear it. But currently it's like I release songs and like, I get feedback like from friends and like loved ones and family and sometimes from random people. But um like when I release things, they're at a point where I'm happy with them. That's been the case so far, and I just want that to continue
Hmm.
to be the case, where like I'm always first and foremost making sure that like I'm comfortable with what I'm putting out there. Think about the scope of it being super large because at the moment it's not yet.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but
Do,
someday.
is there, let me figure out because that's a very like self-aware, obviously, right? A way to think about, what it is you're creating and, how you want it to be contextualized by others, right? Is there a person that creates in the way that you do that you see as a standard rather than even just inspiration? Like, is there a person that you're like, okay,
Mm,
they're doing this right and well, and that's kind of how I want to do it too?
I can think of some examples of like my peers probably like there's this band called the Mops.
Mm,
They're some of them go to Purchase, and they're like an incredible band. It's like more kind of folk music, but it's just like super honest always and like super relatable. It's like upright bass and like guitar. Um, I saw them live a couple weeks ago, and that's like definitely very much in the vein of like the kind of songs that I want to be writing. Um, Obviously, there's like classics, singer songwriters that I kind of go back to time and time again. Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, um, Paul Simon for me, Nick Drake, people like that are like kind of stuff that I was listening to, from the time I started writing guitar
yeah.
songs. And like those people, I mean, there's just like such a wealth of ideas and like of emotions. Like every time I think I'm done, and I think
Mm,
like because I listen to new music too and like different stuff, but every time I'm like word, like I'm not gonna listen to Dylan anymore. Like I'm not gonna listen to Neil Young for a little bit. Like I always go back.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, but also like we were talking last time a little bit about like hip hop influences and like that was kind of before I got into to rock music and folk music. Like I was listening almost exclusively to like hip hop and dubstep. Um, and
Okay.
so
Wait, were
yeah,
you drinking Monster and playing Xbox too?
I wasn't. I was playing on my. I was a PC gamer.
So you're playing CS:GO. Yo, that I would pay good money to see a picture of that. I would
Oh, it
pay.
exists. There's pics on Instagram. But yeah, I was drinking Monster and playing World of Warcraft and like
Yeah,
writing,
classic.
spitting bars. Yeah, definitely an embarrassing period in my life. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of like, like thinking about writing music as like being a writer, like being like a poet, like definitely. I look to hip hop all the time for sure.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah,
So, are you? I know last time we talked a little bit about Earl. Let's talk about, and Earl's one of the most prolific rappers out right now, I would say. But let's talk about the hot button ones. Kendrick, J. Cole just dropped D-Day with
word.
Dreamville, which I actually haven't listened to yet. Schoolboy
Me
Q
neither.
just dropped a song too. Um, last night that I was a little on the fence about. I gotta listen to it again. But where are you at with um, big artists like that, Kendrick, and labels like Dreamville, TDE? What do you think of those
Yeah,
people?
like definitely super inspirational in high school. Like I was a big Kendrick fan from probably when I was like 13, like on like Section 80.
Hmm.
Was like super into that record.
Yeah, Section 8 is great.
And just like hooked from there. So definitely super excited on a new Kendrick release if that's ever gonna
Yeah.
happen. And if it
Well,
is like,
we need it. I'm deprived.
yeah, we need it, but he's gonna do it in his time,
Hmm.
like it's like Frank, it's just like
Hmm.
there's no rushing it. Um, yeah, I'm not the best about staying up to date on just like contemporary releases in general. Um, I find a lot of new music when I look for it, but a lot of the time it's like new, like old music. It's
Hmm.
like new to me, but like not actually like contemporary
Unique.
stuff.
Yeah.
So in terms of like current releases in like pop and like hip hop and even like rock, like um, I'm slacking a little bit. Um,
Well,
but
well,
what's up?
is it really slacking? Because you are in an environment where music is your focus and more so the creation of music. And if you're gonna create anything, yes, you're gonna want to keep up with the new and be in the know, but you're gonna have to go backwards to see what people have done in the past and what people are, taking from, sampling, things like that. So, do you think that I don't want to say even a lack because it's not a lack, but do you think your focus not being so much on contemporary music comes from your environment being hyper focused on creating music and taking from your peers, like you just said, the band, the Mops, you really enjoy what they're creating. And I'm sure there's other producers that do something that you're like, bro, you just blew my mind. So
Yeah,
you think that has anything to do with it?
yeah, I think so. I think that a lot of the people, like a lot of my friends, are like similarly kind of like looking to the past a lot, whether it's like finding samples or just like finding inspiration. But also, I think when I find new music, it's usually like through friends. And I'm definitely really grateful that I like have friends with what I think is like good and like varied music taste who like put me on to things,
Yeah.
because before I came to purchase where I go to college, I definitely had a much more limited music taste, and I think that I kind of like frowned on pop music a lot, which was like the cool thing to do in high school, or like I thought it was the cool thing to do in high school
Hmm.
was to, only listen to like the most indie or like the most underground music.
Right. I was the
But
same
yeah,
way.
like yeah, and then coming to purchase, like I just that kind of like isn't the culture here, and like people really appreciate pop music and like the power that it has to move people. And so yeah, like I only say that I'm slacking because like I know that there's a lot in pop music and in contemporary music that I can be inspired by, and like a lot that I appreciate, like
Mhm.
too. And so yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm slacking because I feel like obligated to be up to date. It's because like I know that I would enjoy the things that I would find, you know.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
let's speak more to that because I think there's a skill and a level of understanding in music that you have to reach in order to even get to a point where you can understand pop music like you're saying, right? And this is something that I talk about quite often with people and just in my personal life and stuff like that. And one example that I will honestly use this until, it's beat it into the ground. But JPEG Mafia, right? He's not popular
Mm,
music, but he is a very talented producer and artist, right? So it's
yeah.
like, but if you showed that to somebody who just listens to pop music, they're not gonna understand JPEG Mafia, right? But I think JPEG Mafia, there's a level of like understanding of music that you have to have to enjoy his music. And I'm not trying to like gatekeep and say, oh, if you produce, you can. There's nothing like that. But I do think to get the full scope of it, you should dabble in production and
Hmm.
all those things a little bit. So, do you think that having that skill is maybe just more important in general than actually listening to the music and actively doing what I just referenced?
I think that people like as it's becoming more accessible. What am I saying? As the software is becoming more accessible, basically, it's like, you can get like Ableton or FL Studio or Logic, and you
Mm-hmm.
can like get a mic for yourself, and there's so much information online, like the world of the producer and the world of the, like songwriter or whatever are like kind of coming a lot closer together. And I think that we're seeing that already like reflected in pop music, like
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of pop artists coming up now like started um like producing themselves, like not that JPEG is like a pop artist, but like, it's definitely a popular like hip hop artist, and like started like fully like self-produced, and like I feel like as artists are able to produce themselves more and don't have to go to like external producers for everything, that we'll get like some more experimental music in the pop realm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like, the kind of music that like typically has been more popular among people who were like super into music, like, the more experimental stuff, like maybe like JPEG or like like Death Grips and stuff, like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that world and the pop world are coming like a lot closer together.
Definitely.
And like I hope that that continues to kind of like be the trend, because people love experimental sounds these days. Like
Yeah.
our ears are getting a lot more used to like the weirdness that you can create in like a DAW, like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel so alien to us anymore, like computer music, so like
Yeah, it's
um
the way of music now because you can
yeah,
literally create a song on your phone, a full like number
fast.
one,
Yeah,
charting on the Billboard song from your phone.
like Steve Lacy.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you you kind of answered this question. It's a question that I thought of while you were speaking. But do you think that artists being self-produced and everybody kind of having access to the same information the same ways bridges that gap of consumer and creator essentially, right? But you did answer that question um
Yeah.
exactly. And I want to kind of echo what you were saying in terms of just like it allows the communities that are enjoying and consuming the music to again come closer together, but allows the artist to be a little bit more experimental and a little weird. And
Yeah,
we talked about some of them even just before. There's a whole host of artists that we can thank for even opening that door, because there's clear steps that you can see, and you can specify it specifically as maybe hip hop, or you could specify it even as pop and put hip hop in there as well. But there's certain moments and certain artists that you can go back to that you could, you know, okay, Eminem opened the door for artists like Tyler Creator. Tyler Creator opened the door for artists like
word.
Lil Uzi, and you know, Lil Uzi open. You know, there's like the list kind of goes on and on and on. Um, and it's just really beautiful to see how now we're in a space where, like you were saying, you grew up on Earl, I grew up on Earl, Odd Future, all those people. Now we're seeing that influence bubble to the top because we were in that process of what you're talking about
Yeah,
during that time.
yeah, and that we were like young at that time and weren't able to like maybe like produce to the level that we are now, but like
Mm,
now that we're of age, I feel like more and more like artists are inspired by that kind of stuff that we were coming up on, which is
yeah,
really really cool.
yeah. It
I'll
is, it
be right
is.
back.
Yeah, your
I gotta
bread.
get my bread,
But
but
once
30 seconds.
again,
This is the last time.
this is a commercial break for Little Clef's sourdough bread, okay? If you want some sourdough bread, head over to Little Clef's Instagram. It's gonna be the full word Little, and it's gonna be Clef, it's gonna be underscore, and then you can go from there to get yourself some bread from the artist himself. I hope that everybody is enjoying themselves, though. I am enjoying having this conversation right now. I can't wait to get this in post and give it to everybody. Oh shoot, is this a live viewing of some bread? Wow. All right,
Pulling up with the loaf.
so give us the breakdown of what we're looking at here.
This is it's a pretty big loaf of bread.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the result of I don't know. It takes like 12 plus hours for to make like a batch of this bread, but
Mm,
yeah, it's like uses a sourdough starter instead of commercial yeast, so it's like natural like yeast and bacteria from the air, and then like basically you create this bubbly living starter, and that makes the bread rise and like spring like this and open up in the oven, and
yeah,
yeah, it's like easier for your body to digest because it's naturally fermented.
yeah,
It's like got some whole grains in there, so it's not like eating a loaf of Wonder Bread. It's like
yeah.
comes from the heart.
There's a science to this too. Clearly, I didn't even know
Word.
that. I really thought you was just in the in the kitchen just making bread, just pumping it out.
That's all
Um,
it is, but it's just learn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but there's
yeah.
like there's details that make it, a little bit more
Word.
personal. So what are you eating that with? If you had to slice
Mm.
yourself off a piece of that, what are you making? A sandwich? You doing some toast? What's going on with it?
Definitely love making the sandwiches. Usually toast with butter and like eggs in the morning. Like I just like fresh bread toasted with butter. Like
Yeah,
there will never be anything better for me.
yeah, that's true. With some
But
jelly sometimes, maybe some
oh,
peanut butter.
bro. I also love making like tuna salad. I'll make like a tuna salad sandwich, or I'll make like just like different like sandwiches and stuff and such. But it's really fun to see what people do with it. Like on Instagram, I'll get
Mm,
like DMs or like stories where I'm tagged people like making just like all sorts of awesome stuff. Somebody made like this like shrimp toast stuff the other week. It's just like so cool to see
yeah.
people like chefing up with this bread.
That's so,
Yeah, I love
since
that.
I've been cooking more recently, that's something that I've been eager and kind of excited to do is sell what I'm cooking. I feel
Word.
like the shrimp and like the chicken and the rice and the veg, I feel like I could make a nice plate for people, especially during the summer, and give it to them. And I don't know if
Yeah,
you're a avid weed smoker, but I am, right? And I want to learn how to infuse the food
word.
properly and sell like $20 plates. That's like it's General Tso's infused General Tso's chicken, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, you can start off like doing the dinner parties, which is like something that I've really been wanting to do. And there's actually a kid who goes to my school who does it. Just like every week has people over for dinner, advertises on social media, and charges like, $5 a plate, or like, maybe a little more. Or if it's like taco night, it's like 250 for a taco.
I didn't even
And
think
yeah,
of
you
that.
just like it's awesome. You just like pull up, and it can be like your friends, or like your, whoever. Like, and then it's just like it's basically just like throwing a dinner party, but like,
You're making some
you
bread
can,
too.
yeah, you can make a little bit of money. Yeah, and you're not ripping anyone off. Like, it's just like you're covering the cost of your groceries, and like
Mhm.
maybe a little extra for yourself, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like,
That's I do. I haven't had a dinner party since I moved to my new spot,
word.
and I really, really want to like have a nice one where I get at least like max like 5 people. I think that's the max I
Yeah,
could cook for. Actually, yeah, yeah, 5 people is like the max I could probably cook for easy without getting too overwhelmed or stressed out.
yeah, it's
But
stressful.
I need to get me an apron too. Like I want to go.
Facts.
I think, like you said, you enjoyed being a line cook. Like I would go to culinary school and everything. I would really, um, dive into cooking. It's so much fun.
Me too. Yeah, it's something I wanted to do. It's expensive though. I mean, from what I've found, like that was kind of the limiting factor. But
Yeah,
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 at some point,
and
trying to go
probably
to
time
culinary school, that would be
consuming
sick.
too.
Oh, they
Uh,
work you for sure. Yeah.
so before we wrap up and I let you go, I wanted to do a little something. We talked about this last time, and I'm doing
Word.
this on the spot here. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of a rapid fire 5 questions that I think every artist should have the answer to. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Okay, word.
Fair.
No pressure though.
Exactly.
Uh,
All right. So you take your time. You get ready.
uh,
We're gonna do. It's gonna be five. It's not. They're not gonna be hard, but they're definitely gonna
okay.
be things that. But you gotta go quick. Max 30 seconds for each answer.
Word. I appreciate this. This is like a lesson in like preparing yourself for all the questions.
All right. So let me know when you're ready, and I got the first
All
one
right.
for you. And you
I'm
get.
ready.
We'll talk about it in between. I'll give you a break before we move on. All right. So
Okay. No, I'm ready to go.
first is Dream Collab.
Oh. I'm gonna say Frank Ocean because Alex G is all over Blonde, and I love Alex G's
Hmm.
music, and he's like more of like an indie rock slash singer songwriter artist, but what he did on Frank's record was amazing.
What
And
songs are he specifically on? Because I've heard his name before.
yeah, he's on. Let me check. Let me check on Blonde.
Yeah.
He's all over Blonde, like specifically. I think it's the only record that he's on. He's on Pink and White. He plays guitar on that.
Okay.
Self Control. He plays the guitar on that. I'm
And
pretty
he
sure.
sings too, right? He's the There's
Yeah.
somebody on there who's like keep a pace for me.
Oh
Mm.
God, that's
He's in a
no.
different band. He's in another band.
I know Jaden Smith is on that record too, but I don't think that's him though.
Nah, that
But
can't be
yeah,
Jaden. But
no, it's
you
not though. I know who you're
uh,
talking about.
so Dream Collab is Frank Ocean and by proxy Alex G.
Low
Okay,
key, yeah, I wanted to play with him. I wanted to be in his band so bad when I was in high school. I was like,
okay,
that was
okay.
my dream.
This segues nice into the next question then.
Word.
Dream venue for you to perform in.
Oh. Um, those like ancient, like the Greek like amphitheaters where you could
No.
hear you could hear the artist like all the way in the back, if you're like in the back row, and it's like because there were obviously no mics, no amplifiers, but you could hear like all the way from the front row to the back row because they were like engineered to be like perfect like that.
Yeah.
um I would want to do that because I wouldn't have to use a mic, I wouldn't have to plug my guitar in, and I would just like stand there and sing, and everybody from the front to the back would be able to hear me perfectly.
I wish I could fund that. I wish I could make that happen for you right
Build
now.
build me an ancient Greek amphitheater.
I was not, first of all, I'm thinking you might say, like, oh, this place or that place. Amphitheater, that's funny. That, I'm
uh,
never going to forget that answer. All right. Three, Best song that like you've ever heard. If you can't do best, I'll take top three.
Oh, okay. No, I got you right now. And they're all gonna be ballads though. Um,
That's just, this is your opinion.
and this is subject to change on a regular basis.
That's fair.
Um, I'm gonna say "In My Room" by the Beach Boys is one of them.
Okay.
Um, damn, this is so hard.
Well, you could leave it at that song. You don't have to give me
Nah,
to okay. Then okay, go with the top three.
Superwoman, Stevie Wonder, Superwoman. That
Okay.
song from Music of My Mind. That song is awesome. Um, and I'll also say, oh, it's so hard. Maybe like Neil Young, like Harvest Moon. Probably another
Man,
one of the best of all time.
this is a pretty that's a wide spectrum of songs. I like that. I like that. They're all kind of in actually no. I like that. Neil Young,
Works.
Stevie Wonder, Beach Boys.
Yeah,
I
that
think
soft
that
spot's
that
for
shows a lot about your character and the music that you create. I think anybody listening, like if you know you like these three artists, make sure you go check out Little Clip. But I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with the type of music that you're putting out. So that's refreshing. That's nice. All right, number four. Keep it simple. Favorite pastime.
ooh, cooking. It's gotta be.
All right. What's your best dish that you've cooked yeah, what's your best dish?
I make a pretty mean like chicken curry. Like I'm making that for myself so often because it's like
Still
pretty
good.
cheap. It's like in like a tomato based sauce, and you just like I just cook a fat batch of rice, and I'm just like eating like curry and rice for like a week.
Yeah, yeah. That I gotta do that is make bigger quantities of the food. I make them like just for the night, but I gotta make
Where
it so it could last.
yeah, it's nice to just have like a night, like one extra night of like leftovers. Like I like to do that.
Right.
What else though? I really like making risotto. Like, oh,
Oh
I just
damn.
love Italian food. Like, oh, I'm so into Italian food.
How it
Um,
changes for me any given time. I'm a pasta lover to the day
yeah.
I
Oh
die.
yeah.
Okay,
Me too.
ravioli, macaroni and cheese,
Mm,
baked ziti, anything. I'll
yeah.
eat it. All right. Then, but lately I've been on a huge Chinese food kick. For some reason,
Word.
just those flavors are really where it's at for me right now. All right. So last but not least question. Okay, this one's gonna be a little bit of a heavy hitter. All right.
Okay.
If you had to put a meaning is you are creative, what would it be? One word, a phrase?
Ooh. I mean, like need. Like I need to be.
Okay, no, all right.
I don't know if that's a corny answer, but it's just
No, that's valid.
like it's just a very effective way of processing life events for me,
Yeah,
honestly. Like in a just a basic sense, like it just kind of helps me to make sense of things, I guess.
yeah, yeah. That's a great answer. That's a great answer, and that's a great way to sign off as well.
Word.
Uh, Little Clef, thank you so much for this
Thank
interview.
you.
It has been a rocky road to get it solidified, but it
Yeah.
also been fun. And
Back.
yeah, you're a great person, you're a great artist, and I'm gonna be,
You too. Glad to talk again.
yeah, I'm gonna be following you, for some time now. I'm gonna
Likewise.
be there. So thank you so much, and I can't wait till we speak again.
Word. Shouts out to all the viewers out there.